But one thing I wanted to get your thoughts on is like, what surfaces I think for a lot of men and young men when they hear the verdict, and they hear the details in a case like this, I think their own past experiences come up, like what their things they've done or they didn't do, walked away from, didn't call out. And so that disarming and de-escalating their defensiveness, their fear of talking about these issues, I feel like that's a big part of this conversation too. The work that not everyone's work. I think folks like you and I, like we have all have different lanes of work we need to do. I think that's in our wheelhouse. Like any thoughts around that for a bit?
Yeah, this it's such a oh my God. Like you're basically summarizing my dissertation, which I just spent some time on today.
Right.
Yeah, I think there's really something that needs to be exactly like you put it so well in terms of needs to be examined. Because we so hyper individualize and zoom in on interpersonal individual instances of harm, and we like to characterize them as bad apples or as contradictory to like the usual way of things, but because it's so hard to think about times exactly as you're saying that we've been complicit. I've been doing work with men and boys for a decade, and um, a lot of them are very, very firm in their belief and their assertion that they're good guys.
Yeah.
That is like endemic to their character. It is foundational to who they are and how they see themselves. And disrupting that foundation would be too catastrophic. But I really think we need to push back against that good bad binary. I think um, Mariam Kaba and like other anti-carceral abolitionist feminist scholars talk about there's no such thing as good and bad people. There are people that do good and bad things, and we're all entangled in this web when we're in an oppressive system. A lot of us are trying to survive. A lot of us are complicit in things that we don't fully know or understand. Like it's very similar to conversations about anti-racism and how white people get very defensive about being called out on their complicity or their enactment or their benefit from racism because it's disruptive to this foundational belief that I'm a good person. And I've done work with like junior hockey players, professional athletes, and a lot of them are really firm in that as well. They want to see themselves as good people. They don't want to believe that they're capable of bad things. And extending that even further, they don't want to see their team or their organization or their institution, something that they have a lot of pride in, as bad or as harmful. So any attempt to push that, press that, disrupt that is often met with a lot of defensiveness. And I've been doing, like you and I have been doing this work for a long time. A lot of the time, I'm so frustrated by that resistance, and it's very easy to dismiss it as like this person is beyond hope, or this person like cannot be helped in this moment, or this person isn't going to come into the space when they need to. But I actually think we can learn a lot from defensiveness, and we can actually lean
Yes.
into it and create
Yes.
space for men to like openly and vulnerably talk about what is so difficult for them about this conversation. So just to provide a
Yes.
quick example, and I'll pass it to you, is I, with Mentor Action, shout out Mentor Action, doing amazing
Woo.
work. So thankful for those colleagues. They've been amazing. But we would do workshops with junior hockey players, pro athletes, skilled tradesmen, and like men dominated spaces. And we'd often talk about things like femicide, domestic violence, sexual assault. And without fail, the men in that room, at least one of them, would start talking about men's suicide and men's mental health. And I think that's like an important consideration and conversation, absolutely. But I only saw it brought up when we were talking about men's violence against women.
Yeah.
And I didn't see it brought up in any other context, right? So
Yes.
I think there's a lot to learn from those impulses. And I know that you've been leaning into those and continue to do that work. But I think like they're essential to grapple with, because if we dismiss them, we're not going to get men into the space. Like we're just not. We're not going to have men buy into this conversation, and we're going to see the proliferation of what we've been seeing online, which is women disclosing experiences of sexual violence being treated as like a personal attack when it's just a sharing. So yeah, I could go on and on about this, but I'll
Oh
pass
yeah.
it to
No.
you.
Please, no. Go on and on. We're here. We're here for the on and on. But